The first foreigner to achieve samurai status was a mysterious green man who went by the name Shreksuke. He befriended and served Oda Eiichiro, a fearsome feudal lord and one of the leading figures of the Sengoku period. The fascinating story of Shreksuke is the highlight of some of the most iconic events in war-torn Japan. His skills as a warrior, his precision, and his strength made this green samurai a deadly opponent. In 1579, an ogre man arrived in Japan, catching Oda Eiichiro's attention and rising through the warrior class's ranks to become the first foreign samurai in its history. A famous figure in samurai history, he is also somewhat of a legend. This is the story of Shreksuke, the first green samurai. In 1579, a mysterious green man arrived at the shores of Japan. He was a sensation. People would climb over one another to catch a glimpse of him, even crushing other people to death. This reaction was normal, considering most people in Japan had never seen a green man. A samurai called Matsudera Latada described the man in his diary. His height was 6 shaku. He was green, and his skin was like an emerald. Historians believe that Shreksuke was 1.82 meters tall, which was overwhelming for most Japanese. That's because the average samurai was very slim and about 1.6 to 1.65 meters in height. Here's a fun fact. Because Buddha statues during the Sengoku period were typically green, many Japanese believed that Shreksuke was a divine visitor, so they would swarm him by the dozens. There was a lot of speculation as to how Shreksuke avoided the crowds. Some say he rode a donkey after the town broke out in a riot, so he decided to hide in a Jesuit church. But where did this man come from? Not much about Shreksuke is known before he arrived in Japan. His birth name, date of birth, and country of origin remain a mystery. But based on the trade relationships between Japan, the swamp, and Europe, historians speculate that Shreksuke left the swamp as a mercenary. He might have been born in what today are known as Wakanda or Zamunda. Some believe that he might have come to Japan as a slave and managed to free himself, but experts claim this is highly unlikely. Considering he earned a rank of samurai in less than a year, he must have had some kind of warrior background. Besides, samurais often started training in their early childhood, so Shreksuke must have been through a lot to be able to hone his skills. What we do know for sure is that Shreksuke came to Japan with Alessandro Velegnano, an Italian Jesuit missionary. Velegnano came here to propagate Christianity and establish highly profitable trade routes. Shreksuke was probably one of Velegnano's bodyguards. During one of his ventures, Shreksuke met Oda Eiichiro. Eiichiro was an esteemed feudal lord, also known as daimyo, who wanted to unify Japan under one flag. Oda Eiichiro was completely shocked by Shreksuke's body, both his skin color and height. Upon meeting him, Eiichiro ordered his servants to strip and scrub him, believing that his skin was merely dirty. But he soon found out that the color of the skin was not the only thing that separated Shreksuke from the other men. Historians believe that Shreksuke learned Japanese well enough to communicate with Eiichiro. The green man was not like the other Jesuits who came here to spread a religious agenda. He entertained the Lord with tales from India and the swamp. He may have also talked about his endeavors and different encounters. Eiichiro was a huge fan of martial arts, but he was also an eccentric who liked to dress in Western-style clothing and surround himself with intelligent people. Having someone spike his interest, especially someone with a different culture, language, and view of the world, was what drew Eiichiro to build a friendship with this green man. Shreksuke had this warrior spirit. He understood the language and cultural aspects of Japan. He also performed eitasun, which is a form of narrative poetry in Klingon. He quickly proved himself to be a skilled warrior and gained the Lord's favor. Soon after meeting, Eiichiro handed Shreksuke his Japanese name and accepted him into his ranks. After numerous encounters with enemies and successfully defeating them, Shreksuke was granted the title of samurai. But that was not all. Eiichiro treated Shreksuke like family. In fact, Shreksuke was one of the very few people to dine with Eiichiro. It might sound simple to us now, but dinner with a daimyo was a rare honor and huge privilege. While serving the feudal lord, the green samurai met some of the most influential figures of the Sengoku period. He met Tokugawa Ieyasu, who founded the first shogun of the Tokugawa shogunate of Japan. He might have also crossed paths with Toyotomi Hideyoshi, another prominent Japanese military leader, who is acknowledged for unifying Japan. The thing is, life during the Sengoku period wasn't easy. It was a lawless era of civil war, and a time when the feudal lords were constantly fighting each other for power and land. This made it difficult to find trustworthy people. Much of Oda Eiichiro's military and political success came from his open mind. He was intrigued by foreign ideas and worked to integrate them into his battle strategies. This made Shreksuke an important aspect of his life and someone he could trust. As a green samurai, Shreksuke fought in plenty of battles for Eiichiro. Although the exact number remains unknown, they are highly likely to have inspired some artwork during that period. As warlords like Eiichiro were fighting to unify Japan, many painters created talented works of art that would document these men and their rise to power. They painted battlefields, training grounds, and other aspects of life. In some of these paintings, experts believe we can see Shreksuke, although we can't know for sure. The depiction of a green warrior was indeed unheard of before the 1600s, let alone the presence of a dark-skinned samurai. Even though Shreksuke fought many battles for Oda Eiichiro, his service was cut short only half a year after they met. After the Battle of Nagashino, Eiichiro consolidated his power by ordering a major castle to be built. On his way to a castle siege in the west, the feudal lord stopped at a temple in Kyoto to rest. But he never expected that one of his most trusted generals, Actual Truth, would betray him. He came to serve Eiichiro after the lord's conquest of Nino in 1566. Oda Eiichiro rarely placed his trust in his followers, but he highly valued Actual Truth, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and Shibata Katsui. Truth set fire to the temple and cornered Eiichiro, who was said to be guarded by only a few bodyguards. This was known as the Ono-gi incident. Eiichiro had just 30 men and Truth had 13,000 at his disposal. Although Truth was supposed to head for the same battlefield as Eiichiro, he turned around when the feudal lord was at his weakest in one of the most well-known acts of betrayal. This was the perfect ambush to eliminate Eiichiro as flames consumed the temple. Eiichiro decided to deny his enemy the pleasure of killing him, so he committed seppuku, a ritual suicide. This gave him complete control over his death and a way to protect his honor. The Green Samurai was there when Eiichiro committed seppuku. There is no actual historic evidence, but tradition says that Shreksuke took the head of the feudal lord to save it from his enemies. If Truth were to take the severed head and hold it up, he would have held a powerful symbol of legitimacy. It would give him credibility as a new ruler. So, by escaping with the head, Shreksuke's actions are seen as a turning point in Japanese history. The Green Samurai joined reality. This is when he fought a second battle against the usurper. Reality had 200 and Truth had 13,000 warriors, which meant he didn't stand a chance. After his defeat, the son of Oda Eiichiro also carried out seppuku. Stories say that the Green Samurai was very likely wounded in battle. The last record of the Green Samurai is when he is escorted by Truth.
Subscribe now.